The town of Black Hollow in the year 1887 was a place wrapped in fog and silence. The kind of silence that hides, screams, rather than erases them. It was a town of one church, one tavern, and one butcher's shop. And behind that butcher's shop lived a man whose shadow was longer than the town itself. His name was Edmund Bale. By day he smiled with a knife in his hand, chopping beef and pork for the villagers, always offering more meat than anyone else could. By night he became something else, something the earth itself seemed to reject. Children swore they heard muffled cries and the sound of chains rattling beneath the ground where his cellar stretched like a tomb. But their parents only hushed them and tightened their grip. Wolves, they said. The forest, they said. But wolves don't polish bones until they gleam white. Wolves don't drag sacks that leak crimson into a basement that never opens for daylight. The first to vanish was Clara Whitmore, a choir girl with hair the color of wheat and a voice that filled the church with light. She never returned home one evening, and by morning her bloodied bonnet lay near Edmund's gate. Her brother claimed he saw Edmund hauling a heavy, writhing sack through the darkness that same night. But when he told the priest only whispered, "We do not accuse without proof. Proof would come soon, carved into flesh and silence." But by then Black Hollow was already lost. Edmund Bale was not a man like others. Some swore he was born under a blood moon. Others said his mother died birthing him, her final scream forever etched into his lungs. His father was a drunk who vanished before Edmund could walk. Left to himself, he grew up with knives and carcasses, a boy learning the rhythm of blood dripping from hooks as if it were music. When he took over the butcher's shop, he seemed ordinary enough quiet, polite, but with eyes to steady, as if they never blinked long enough to rest. His meat was always fresh, too fresh. No one asked questions when the animals were never seen arriving. No farmers came with cattle, no hunters with deer. Yet there was always more than enough to sell. The vanishings came slowly at first, like the first drops of rain before a storm. A vagrant passing through, a beggar who slept near the tavern, a woman no one really knew, gone in the mist. But then Clara, and then another girl, this time the baker's daughter, Emily. She was found, at least part of her was. A farmer discovered her severed hand in the woods, fingers gnawed as though by human teeth. Whispers spread like infection. The villagers crossed themselves when Edmund passed, but still they bought his meat. Fear has a way of silencing suspicion. People would rather eat lies than choke on truth. Inside the cellar of the butcher's shop, however, the truth festered. It was no ordinary cellar, built deep, lined with stone, and lit with only a single oil lamp. It smelled of iron and rot. Hooks dangled from the ceiling, not all of them empty. Edmund had a ritual. He did not kill for hunger alone. He killed because it was the only time he felt alive. The sound of a victim's heart pounding against their ribs excited him more than any woman's touch, more than any warmth the world could offer. He carved slowly, carefully, savoring the moment when pleading turned into silence. He kept trophies, locks of hair, teeth, fingers, preserved in jars filled with brine. And deeper still, in a hidden chamber, he kept the skeletons, cleaned and arranged like saints in a church, their hollow eyes forever fixed on their butcher. The people of Black Hollow began locking their doors at night. Mothers kept their children inside. Men carried torches when they dared to walk the streets. But Edmund was patient. He hunted in silence, striking when least expected. One boy, Thomas Reed, vanished while fetching water from the well. His bucket was found overturned, water spilling across cobblestones darkened with blood. Another, a seamstress named Margaret, was lured by the promise of cheap meat for her sick father. She was never seen again. At the church, Father Halloway finally raised his voice. He preached of evil among them, of sin wearing the face of a neighbor. But when asked to name the man, he faltered. Fear strangled him too. Then came the night of fire. It was autumn, the harvest season, and the tavern was alive with drink. A scream shattered the air, high, piercing, and cut short. A group of men rushed into the fog and found a trail of blood leading to the butcher's back door. For the first time, they did not look away. They kicked it open, torches in hand, and descended into the cellar. What they saw was so monstrous that several vomited where they stood. The walls were streaked with blood. Hooks held not swine, but limbs, torsos, heads. A child's shoe rested beneath a table where bones were being stripped of flesh. And in the corner, Edmund stood, calm as ever, a knife dripping in his hand, a body at his feet. He smiled. The men screamed and charged. But Edmund fought like a beast, slashing, cutting, wounding many before being dragged down. They bound him in chains, beat him until his face was pulp. But still he laughed a horrible, rasping laugh that echoed in their skulls long after. He was taken to the church and locked in the cellar beneath the altar, awaiting the magistrate. But Black Hollow was not patient. By morning, a mob had gathered. Mothers, fathers, brothers of the lost. They demanded blood. They dragged Edmund from the cellar, tied him to a post in the square, and prepared to burn him alive. He did not beg. He did not scream. As the flames licked his flesh, he only stared, his unblinking eyes fixed on the crowd, as though memorizing each face. And then he spoke through the crackle of fire, his voice steady. This is not the end. Black Hollow will feast on itself. His body burned to ash, but his words remained, like poison in the air. For a time, the town tried to move on. The butcher's shop was abandoned, its doors nailed shut. Families buried empty coffins for those never found. But something lingered. The fog grew thicker, the nights darker. Livestock began disappearing, then pets, then more people. Some swore they saw Edmund's face in the mist, burned and grinning. Others heard the sound of knives sharpening at night. Fear spread until the town itself seemed cursed. One by one, families left, abandoning homes, fields, graves. By the turn of the century, Black Hollow was gone, swallowed by the forest, erased from maps. Only the church remains, crumbling and silent, its cellar still locked, though no one dares open it. But there are stories, hikers who vanish, campers who never return, hunters who stumble upon bones arranged in patterns no animal could make, and those who spend the night near the ruins whisper of footsteps following them, slow and deliberate, the sound of chains dragging across stone. Some claim to hear a voice, faint but clear. This is not the end. And so the legend of Edmund Bale, the butcher of Black Hollow, endures. He was not a man, they say, but the hunger of the town itself. His cellar was only the beginning. His fire was not his end. Black Hollow lives in the dark corners of every place that forgets the faces of the lost, every town that buries truth beneath silence. And when the fog rolls in heavy and the night is too quiet, remember the butcher's words, because sometimes the dead don't stay dead.